So I'm kind of confused about things. I'm trying to do quiet mode, but at the same and part of quiet mode is to have the whole thing be quiet when the focus isn't on the blog roll. And so you've got this situation where you've got in the sort of main part of the space, you've got a bunch of tabs, you've got an editor, you've got your blog, whatever it is you have over there on the left hand side. Over on the right, in the right margin, is the blog roll, but your attention is not focused there, and it's a problem if you draw the reader's attention to that. It's going to be competing with the thing that they really came for, which was the blog, and I feel that way totally about that on scripting.com, and it's amazing how just having it come to me via OM was enough to get me to say, okay, that's valid. I need to take a look at that and see what I can do. So I'm probably going to do a few screen recordings here to show various parts of this off, and so here's one of them, right? And so try to imagine over here is over here is whatever it is you have there is your main thing, and this is also not as quiet as it will be. Title's going to be a lot smaller. It's going to move up here. This line will not be here, so you won't have the ability to control the sort order of these things, but you don't need it. And the truth is the only thing that matters here is the currency, is how recently it's updated. Honestly, you don't even need to know that it was 8 minutes, 23 minutes, 1 hour, etc., etc. On the other hand, if you don't have that much width, and that would of course potentially make it a lot narrower, but the problem is that when you were to expand the wedge here, and I don't want to do that right now because I don't want to get ahead of myself in the demo, it needs a certain amount of horizontal room to show you the text of the stories. And I suppose this thing could expand in size, but with CSS being what it is, I mean, it's pretty much got to be a fixed size so that we can sort of work with it, right? Okay, so here's the lick that I want to show you now. I just click on this and look. So now this is what it looks like, except you don't see the cursor, I guess. This is what it normally looks like, except it isn't highlighted. The idea is that when you put the focus on this thing, the background turns white, okay? And, but the cursor stays that color, which I worked quite a bit to get this kind of look, and I really like this look, and I didn't like the idea of toning the whole thing down, and I realized I don't need to or want to tone it down when my attention is focused on the box. At that point, I want it to look like my attention is there. All right, now I'm going to click outside the box to take the focus off of it, and now it quiets down. The line gets very soft. You don't see, but but I also didn't change the state of things. You can still hover over items, stuff like that, and you can click links. But as soon as you click on this, and it should also work. Let's see if this works. Yeah. Oh, there's that scroll showed up. Well, I think we know how to get rid of that now, right? So while I have your attention here, I was also thinking about something that Nick said in a comment, and it was interesting, and I sort of tried to imagine, well, what is in his mind there? It's like, and it also is in mine as well, which is that ideally the person who's setting this up will be able to control everything about the look of the blog roll, and of course I agreed with that. Of course, I mean that's fortunately or unfortunately that's the way the web works. I mean, I've worked on systems, and I'm going on and on here, but I've worked on systems like the Mac, and especially in the early days, there was a certain zealotry about, you don't make it look different. You make everything look the same. And it was frustrating because it didn't always work out the way they thought it would, but there you have it. That was the rule. The web, it's exactly the opposite. Oh, let me customize it to the fullest extent. The problem with that is, yes, we agree in principle, but in truth, in fact, we can't make it so you can change everything, because if you could, that would break our our coexistence with all the things that are sitting in memory with us. And so, and I thought, well, maybe I should just go back and redo the whole thing with what I know now. And oh yeah, I could do that. I really actually would like to do that because programmers always want to do that. I'm not being sarcastic, it's the truth. I implement something, now I have to live with all of its details because it's actually a complicated piece of software. But the truth is, if I were to rebuild it, it might not have the same complications. It would have different ones. It would still have complications. Real software is hard to read and hard and fragile and all the rest of that. So the truth is, we're not going to be able to give them all of the flexibility they could ever want. But then they, of course, will have the same data structures that we have, and they could build, if they feel that they could build something better, then go ahead and build it. My goal, and I know I'm rambling, and this is where I will stop, okay, is that my goal here, and I believe I said this in one of my posts on Slack the other day, is to get RSS, or feeds in general. I try to remember to call them feeds, not RSS, so we don't have to argue about this. That I want feeds to come out of the feed reader. There's this idea that feeds are this sort of weird, old, ancient, sort of broken thing, right? This is the bad rap that RSS got. And it was actually largely due to a PR campaign that some VCs did, and it's really sad that they did that because it is an open format, and really is open. You can do whatever you want with it. Nobody's in your way. Nobody's going to stop you. It's great. I think that's what the big companies didn't like about it. It's that they have no place on the W3C. They can control everything they want, and it looks like it's open, but in fact, it's all skewed towards them. But RSS didn't do that. RSS said, fine, everybody's okay here. And they don't like that, so they trashed it and whatever. But I want to bring it out into the world in all of its glory, and before people even know that this is a feed reader, but it's a feed reader that lives in a blog, and that's new. And the idea isn't that this is meant to monopolize this activity, but rather it's to stimulate thinking and have lots of things like this. And so I'm okay with the fact that people might view my blogroll code as example code and say, oh, fine, let's just hack this in a different way. Let's take this into a different direction and see what we get. That's fine. I don't even insist that they use FeedLand. That's why I felt it was so important to have that field there that says this is the FeedLand server, because I don't like lock-in, and I'm suspicious of it when I see it myself, and I'm not stupid, and no, nor are the other people stupid, and they know when they're being locked in. And I can't help but do a tiny little bit of lock-in by restricting it to FeedLand, but that's because there's nothing else that does what FeedLand does. That may change, and if it does, then we're going to make an effort to try to work with those other folks in this context. FeedLand will still be competitive, but in this context, we want to work with it all. But then they also have a very straightforward way of being compatible. They just do the same thing we did. They just say, okay, well, where you put feedland.com, just put my feedland or whatever, my feed universe dot social or whatever. Just put that there, and you know what? Everything's just going to work, so don't worry about it. It's all good. Anyway, I did completely blow it. This was supposed to be a short little demo, but this is what I do. And so, anyway, I probably will do another one of these. But, okay, bye.